In this box is the, wait, I gotta get the name right. The Slim 7 Pro X 14.5 inch. Yes, I said 0.5. What's better? Never heard of a 14.5 inch display before? All right, to be fair, this is the first time I've encountered one myself. This particular laptop is built specifically with creators in mind. And honestly, if I think about it, a 14 inch is kind of at the lowest possible end where I would consider it capable of editing any footage. It's kind of straddling that spot between portability and usability when it comes to creating, as we say, these days. So this is a sample unit, so it has been opened and pre-configured with Windows. Nice design on the box there. That kind of looks like a something they did for maybe a creator laptop, that the logo with the colored background like that. Maybe? I don't know. All right, let's take a look. And as I said before, this is a Slim. So I'm not expecting like a lot in terms of I/O, but we'll look at the specs here in a second and see what this baby has in it. It's a very simple, sleek design. It has comfort edges, so it has these rounded edges on the outside, which feel really nice. It has a little elevated rubber bumper right here. So what that's gonna do is kind of hold it up off the desk a little bit to help with airflow and cooling. Because if I'm looking at the bottom grill right here, I can see there's a heat pipe right there, and then there's a fan on that side and one on that side. All right, so right off the bat, it's a nice, there's a tiniest bit of screen flex, but it's not bad at all. You got a nice, large, very silky smooth trackpad. You got your speakers on either side of the keyboard, upward firing, love that. So these are great sounding speakers. They're not quite as clean and bassy as, say, a MacBook Pro, but they're kind of at the top of their class as far as I'm concerned. But these sound really, really good, and they can get extremely loud without distortion, so I'm pretty happy with these. Up top, you have a 1080p IR webcam, and it's advertised to have an e-shutter. So in other words, there's no physical privacy shutter on this camera, but there should be a button on here. Yeah, there's a little switch right here. You hit that and it just cuts power to the camera. And while I do appreciate that there is that feature, I'm not really a fan of the e-shutter. I like the ability to see that there is a physical shutter right in front of that camera lens, so I don't have to double check or rethink myself. It is fairly light. It does have a little bit of heft to it. It appears to have an all metal body, which is really nice. Kind of what I expect from something bearing the Pro designation. And speaking of Pro, this thing is no slouch. This thing has some serious hardware in it. Let's take a look at some of the specs. So recently an energy drink brand reached out to me and asked if I wanted to sample some of their product. The brand is called Sneak. Each one is one serving and it makes like 10 to 12 fluid ounces. You just shake it with water. But in each serving it contains 150 milligrams of caffeine. It does say the caffeine is from green coffee beans. So I am curious if it will make me jittery or not, but that has yet to be seen. I'll report back on that next time. These are sugar-free. Let's see what they have in them instead. All right, so I see sucralose in here. I believe that's what stevia is, if I'm not mistaken. It also has acyl fame K. I'm probably saying that wrong, but that is also labeled as a sweetener. So if you go to Sneak's website, they don't just come in those little packets. You can actually get these tubs of them. But if you're interested in checking them out, you will want to go to Starter Pack, and you can choose 9 different flavors. And that's just to help you figure out what you like. And it even comes with a shaker. So on top of the packets that they sent me their 3rd generation Blizzard shaker. So this thing is double walled. So this thing is going to keep your drinks cold for a really long time. I'm kind of tempted to go straight for the cherry bomb. And the reason why is that cherry is one of the hardest flavors to get right and not taste like cough syrup. So if they can get cherry right, then I'm feeling pretty confident about them. Now, this is gonna be really embarrassing if this is like really not good. I don't know if you can see that, but there are ounces and milliliter measurements inside. It smells like cherries. All right, let's give it a try. It's actually not bad. So the thing I said about the sucralose, you do get it on the back end. It's still a sweet drink, but the flavor of the sucralose itself is pretty subtle, which is awesome. Yeah, I could drink that. All right, not bad, Sneak. You've done pretty well for cherry, I'll give you that. I'll drop a link in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself. But now back to your regularly scheduled program. So you've got up to an AMD Ryzen 9 6900HS Creator Edition, up to a GeForce RTX 3050, which in a laptop this size is pretty impressive. You've got a full HD IR webcam, as I said, that Comfort Edge design, Lenovo X Power for increased performance. We'll get into that in a second. And I love this display. This is a 14.5-inch 3K, 120 Hertz, 16:10 pure sight display with factory calibration. So it is an IPS sRGB display with factory calibration, which is really nice, especially if you're using this for photo and video. It also includes a 70 watt-hour battery with Rapid Charge Express. So you may have noticed I said pure sight when I was reading out the spec on the display, and that is the label that Lenovo puts on their highest end displays. So this is a really tack sharp, beautiful display. I will say I am seeing a lot of reflection in it. Part of that is that I am being lit right now, so there's a lot of light bouncing onto the display. You can kind of see me in the background there filming with my phone. So the webcam is compatible with Windows Hello, and there's actually a cool feature in Lenovo's Vantage software that you can use with that. So open up Lenovo Vantage, go to your menu, go to Smart Assist, and you can do zero touch login and zero touch lock. And these are going to use Windows Hello to automatically log you in when you're in front of the computer. And on the flip side, if you step away from your computer and it doesn't detect your face, it'll automatically lock. Pretty cool, especially if you're in like a public place and step away from your computer for a second. So with this specific model, you have an AMD Ryzen 9 6900HS. That's an 8-core processor. For your discrete graphics, you have an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3050 with 4 gigs of VRAM, 32 gigs of LPDDR5, dual channel, 6400 megahertz memory. Honestly, that's kind of the minimum these days that I recommend you have if you're doing video editing. You can definitely get away with 16 gigs, but 32, much better. Touchscreen. I don't really use a touchscreen that often, and on top of that, this isn't a 3-in-1. And the screen does open up quite a bit, almost flat, but it isn't a 3-in-1, so you can't use it as a tablet. So for me, that's kind of like an extra feature that I don't really need, but I'm sure for some people, they'll be glad to see that there. You have 1 terabyte of NVMe PCI Express storage, Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.1, 2 USB-C 3.1 Gen 2, 2 USB-A's 3.2 Gen 1, a 3.5mm headphone mic combo jack. This PC does include the Dolby Access app, so you do have access to Dolby Atmos settings for your speakers and Dolby Vision settings for your screen. In my experience, those settings, both for the audio and for the picture, do actually make a difference. And the Dolby Atmos usually brings the gain up as well for your speakers. With it turned off, I find that the volume is usually like way down, even if I have it up to 100%. So I usually just leave that on. When I'm video editing, I'm not a huge fan of having the Dolby Atmos turned on because it can change how I perceive the audio. And so it might sound really different for someone on like a smartphone watching one of my videos. But when I am watching videos and movies on the laptop, it actually makes a huge difference, and I prefer to have it on in that case. So one thing we haven't looked at yet is this power adapter. It is, in fact, in this case, we have a 100-watt power adapter, and it is USB-C. Pretty standard Lenovo keyboard. Of course, on this model, we do not have a number pad, but there is a nice backlight with 2 brightness settings. What do you say we run some benchmarks? So our first benchmark in Cinebench, the 6900HS Creator Edition, just ripped right through that render. Really impressive performance there. And during that benchmark, there was moderate fan noise. Nothing I wouldn't expect from a laptop this size with this much power in it. Running our 3D Mark benchmark, we got a pretty good score. And while you're not gonna break any FPS records with a 3050, you're gonna be able to play things like Fortnite at 60 FPS and higher, just depending on your settings. 3D Mark guesses that you're gonna get 55 plus at 1080p Ultra in Fortnite. Are you gonna be able to get to 120 FPS to utilize the display's refresh rate with gaming? Probably not. But I will say that everything else on this display looks clean and crisp. Photo editing and video editing, really smooth. I think for the most part, they hit the nail on the head with this thing. This is a really impressive little machine. So in conclusion, a couple of the things I'm not terribly happy with. I wish there was a little bit more of an anti-glare on the screen. I really would have liked a physical privacy shutter. That is personal preference, of course. A full HDMI would have been nice. Again, not something that's entirely necessary. It's just a nice thing to have. And lastly, the biggest thing for me personally, and probably for a lot of content creators, is having a built-in SD card slot. That's just really nice to have on board. Now you can, of course, plug your camera straight into this thing. When you're at home or you're working on a desk, that's fine. But especially when you're out and about, it's nice to just take that SD card out and pop it straight into the machine. Especially if you're on a plane and you want to work. It's really hard to have a camera or even an SD card reader hanging off the side of your laptop. But those things aside, this is a very capable laptop for content creators that are on the go. People like myself that maybe you have a beefier machine at home. Maybe it's a desktop, maybe it's just a really beefy 17-inch laptop like I have, and you don't want to lug that around every time you hop on a plane. This is a fantastic option. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.